Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. EQ Nostalgia here, and today I'm going to do something that I don't think I've done before. I've got over 500 videos. It's kind of hard to keep track after a while, believe it or not. It's you start to think, did I already do this? I don't remember. I'm going to be reading somebody's article, at least parts of their article. I'm going to leave it in the description so you guys can go check it out because I think it's utter bullshit. Not the entire article, mind you. Anybody who's had positive experiences over Landmark, I'm happy for you. That's good, man. If you got your money out of it, cool. If you enjoyed it, awesome. That's great. That's fantastic. If you made friends, you built structures that you're proud of, that's cool. They're going to be fucking wiped. They're going to be gone. You're never going to see them again, only in photos and videos. But it's cool that you were able to make those things. Hey, nothing lasts forever, right? And, you know, a game that's been out for 6 months, it's time to pull the plug, right? Wait, that's not fair, EQ. It's been out for years. You know better. Well, technically, it hasn't really been out on Steam until fucking 7 months ago. That's when they really officially released it and charged people $10 for it. Yeah, we had the Trailblazer packs. You gotta love how they called them Trailblazer packs. I wonder why they called them that, guys. Does that make you wonder what's a Trailblazer? That's someone who lays the foundation to something greater than what they're doing, right? That's someone who's in the lead, right? They're blazing the trail for something new, a new pioneer, a new idea. Why did they call that a Trailblazer pack and all these different founders and settlers and all this shit that they did? Because Landmark was the foundation of EverQuest Next. That's how it was initially marketed. Yet so many fucking people seem to forget this, and they seem to think that anybody who is pissed off about EverQuest Next is wrong, that there should be no connection between those two things. Landmark and EverQuest Next should not be connected. You're fucking wrong, dude. First of all, who remembers seeing the logos EverQuest Next Landmark? If you go and type up Landmark logo, just type it into Google, you're going to come up with a ton of EverQuest Next Landmark logos. You're going to find a couple here and there that just say Landmark. Okay, so they were literally calling this EverQuest Next Landmark. And yes, the article says that that was a mistake. But then the article goes and says that, oh, well, don't tie the two together. And people who were giving it a bad review when it came out on Steam, they're to blame. That's what they're saying. I'm kind of jumping ahead in the article here. But in one of the sections, I'm going to read exactly what they said right now, and then I'm going to address it, because I'm kind of all over the place. You guys can probably tell that I'm a little fucking triggered over this. Now, I'm going to take it from here. Basically, just above this, he's saying, you know, if you pay into early access, it's like Kickstarter, you're taking a risk. I think everybody gets that, all right? That's nobody's going to really deny that. Yeah, we took a risk. That's our fault for taking a risk. Okay, so you got me there. I guess having fucking faith in this company was a mistake, right? Okay, now I'm going to go on and read the rest. This also applies to the folks who are still salty. They bought a Landmark Founders Pack because what they really wanted was EverQuest Next, despite all the times it was made clear that buying Landmark gave no leg up on EQN access. We know that it didn't give us a leg up, dude. But here's the thing, we wanted to support EverQuest Next. That's why we did it. So once EverQuest Next was dropped, we were kind of like, okay, so then what the fuck did we pay for any of this for? Oh, well, you still got Landmark. No, it doesn't work that way. All right, now continuing on. And also all the people who chose to torpedo Landmark's Steam rankings out of spite when it finally launched because it wasn't EverQuest Next. There's so much wrong with this. I don't even fucking really know where to begin. People being pissed off about Landmark and giving it a bad ranking and telling people not to buy into it, that's a good thing because they haven't really showed us any good signs of faith, right? The game that we were supporting, the reason why we bought into Landmark, a large majority of us, the reason why we got into Landmark was for EverQuest Next. I don't care if we didn't get a leg up on it, if it didn't mean we were going to get anything out of it. The reason why we did it is because we wanted to support it. I mean, that's how they were selling it, man. You know, everybody knows that. Everybody that was there knows that's how they were selling it. Like I said, Founders Packs, Trailblazer, build EverQuest Next with us. Then EverQuest Next goes tits up. Yes, Landmark's going to have a fucking bad ranking on Steam. And then saying, oh, you did it out of spite. Like acting like it's our fault that this game failed. This article is a pile of dog shit. How about this? How about if Daybreak didn't cancel EverQuest Next and they kept working on it and they actually brought it out? This wouldn't have happened. How about that? How about this is Daybreak's fault? How about it's not my fault for leaving a negative Steam review? It's not anybody's fault who felt fucking cheated by this. How about that? That's what I'm going with. I'm going with that one, folks. I'm going to go with the fucking logical answer here. It's not my fault. It's not anybody's fault who was pissed off and felt burned about this. Yeah, it's risky when you invest in something. That's the way it is. But we're not talking about some small indie studio here, folks. This isn't, they're trying to equate this to a regular Kickstarter thing. Like, oh, it's just some startup that nobody's ever heard of. No, no, it's not. It was Sony Online Entertainment, and we had at least some reason to trust them, right? I mean, yeah, there were times where they've pissed off a lot of people. They've certainly pissed me off. You know, EverQuest Online Adventures, Free Realms, Star Wars Galaxies. They've made a lot of mistakes. But I think that trusting them, an established, pretty much AAA development studio, with our money, was a lot less of a risk than just throwing it at some random Kickstarter. Am I the only one who remembers when Dave Georgeson took the stage? He was pretty charismatic. He was pretty good at his job. He certainly sold me. He sold a lot of people. They had a really good presentation. Yeah, there wasn't a lot there. It was still pretty rough. It was just, you know, art and the direction that they wanted to take it in. They had a song from Jeremy Soule. They're like, hey, we're serious. We hired this guy. He's a world-renowned composer. Check it out. We've got a song ready to go. And you can play Landmark pretty soon. Everybody was all about that shit. Okay, I can't think of anybody that I could really blame for getting on board with that. It looked very professional to me. Okay, so yeah, it is our fault for throwing money at it, right? But is it our fault that it tanked? No, it's not. Basically, what it comes down to is it's our fault for trusting them. That's what I get from this article, and that's the only thing you're ever going to fucking convince me of that I'm to blame for. The only thing I'm to blame for is trusting in this company to do what they said they were going to fucking do. If that makes me an asshole, then okay, your article is 100% correct. I guess I'm just a fucking idiot because I thought that they would actually develop a game that they said they were going to develop. It just cracks me up how anyone can be amazed that Landmark got bad reviews after EverQuest Next went tits up. I don't understand that. Of course that's going to happen. Of course that's going to happen. Imagine if somebody was backing, like, say, Star Citizen, and they had a similar thing. Star Citizen had something where you could help build the colonies and all these things, and then Star Citizen was canceled, but the little colony builder was still up on Steam. How do you think that would do? Do you think that would be well received? The fucking level of arrogance in this article, man. I'm not even done. I'm not even done. I've got more. Now, you got to love the way they start this next point. Like, they're moving on. They're not going to take any more shots at the fan base. They're just, whatever, let's move on. However, what I'd like to talk about here next is less about the failure of the early access concept or Daybreak's business tactics. Of course, we don't want to talk about those things. We don't want to talk about the real reason why this failed, okay? And more about what made Landmark special. Why I kept playing it even if I couldn't build like most of the good players. Why I made a nerdy kilt with the Landmark logo, so edgy right there, that pays homage to the Trailblazer flag available in-game. And why I never jumped on the negative hype train that some people have been on where Daybreak can't do anything right in their eyes. How... I've never heard of a negative hype train. Who gets fucking hype for negativity? You mean the hate bandwagon? Because that is something that definitely happens. I've seen that happen with a lot of things. I think Resident Evil 7's got that going on right now. I think people hate that just because it's in first person and no other fucking reason, and I don't see why. I think that's very irrational. But that has nothing to do... These are apples and oranges here. The negative hype train. Daybreak can't do any right in their eyes. That's maybe because Daybreak hasn't done anything good since they fucking popped up. Maybe because Daybreak is a running joke where people misspell the name Daybreak Games, as in they break games. I've seen people say they should be called Sunset Games because of all the games they're fucking shutting down. Now they've got access to Dungeons & Dragons Online and Lord of the Rings Online. And what do you think they're going to do with that, folks? I can tell you right now what they're going to do with those properties. They're already long in the tooth. They're on their way down. They're spiraling out. That's why they were picked up by Columbus Nova. Let's be fair. That's who picked this up, right? Okay, we'll just call it Daybreak. They're going to squeeze this for everything that both of those games are worth. If you're playing those games right now, kiss them goodbye. Because they're fucking going away. Because that's the way that Daybreak operates. And that's the way that they're going to continue to operate. And I'm not going to say anything else unless I see Daybreak actually making things. What have they done? What has Daybreak done since they've become a company? What have they done? They're managing former SOE properties, but what have they built besides caches and shit like that for fucking H1Z1? What have they done, really? Okay, yeah, some of the people under their employ, they're working on EverQuest and EverQuest 2 expansions. Okay, But what has come out of them? Anything new? Have we seen any productivity out of them at all? No, they're shutting everything down. They're milking everything. So because there's people like me who see that, that puts me on the negative hype train. I'm on some sort of fucking negative hype train that this company can't do any good, and that's like somehow unwarranted. No, it's very justified that I feel that way. Take a look at the history. But we don't stop there, folks. We're not done yet. I can certainly acknowledge the snarky tweets, the inevitable yet tiresome "I told you so." I kind of already went over that. Having a problem with people who say "I told you so." Responses from players who left a while ago when the game no longer made them happy. But I'd rather acknowledge the good. Really, you'd rather acknowledge the good. You're such a kind-hearted individual. You'd rather focus on the good, not the negativity like those trolls, like those assholes like EQA Nostalgia and his followers and all those people who actually have a fucking rational and normal functioning brain, who can actually see the problem here. Let's go back up a little bit. However, what I'd like to talk about here next is less about the failure of the early access concept or Daybreak's business tactics. You don't want to talk about this. You'd rather acknowledge the good. How much good is there to acknowledge? The fun that you had? The personal experiences that you had with your friends? Because that's really all that I'm getting out of this. Because there's no good coming from Daybreak. But you don't want to talk about their failings. You want to talk about the fun that you had with your buddies. Okay, but I'm an asshole when I point out the fucking way that this was mismanaged? Are you kidding me? What is this? What kind of fucking article is this? Are you giving people facts, or are you just here to reminisce? Did you pop a few fucking member berries? Oh, I remember, guys, when I built that structure.
Yeah, I remember that.
I loved Bionic Man.
So this next point, this one cracks me up too. This whole thing is just a gas. I'm telling you, you guys need to read it. All right, I'm going to start from here. Firstly, no one forced anyone to buy the game. Secondly, no one forced anyone to actually play the game once they bought it. Thus, if someone didn't like the state of the game when they made the purchase and chose not to play it in hopes of it getting better later, it's not really SOE or Daybreak's fault. No, that's not Daybreak's fault. If they started playing the game and it didn't meet their expectations and they found it boring or they found it dull or hard to learn the tools and they just put it down and didn't play it, that's not SOE or Daybreak's fault. What did they do to remedy that? Did they fix the game? Did they make it more playable or more fun? I mean, I guess you could say they did. They put things in there, but it never really lived up to anybody's expectations. That's not our fault. It's not. It's just not. So if you're saying that the player base dwindled away because the game wasn't fun and that's somehow our fault, you're mistaken, because that's what I'm taking away from this. If it's not Sony's fault, if it's not SOE's fault or Daybreak's fault, whose fucking fault is it then? You're obviously saying it's our fault because we didn't stick around and support the title. That's what I'm taking away from this. And this article is kind of confusing because you'll read parts where they're like, oh yeah, well, you know, they clearly messed up when they let Dave Georgeson go and nobody else stepped up. You could tell that things were in trouble, and you could tell that people were feeling there was no real leadership coming from them and blah, blah, blah. So they do acknowledge that they've made mistakes, but then they go ahead and they make excuses for them and they blame the community. Am I reading this wrong? Guys, am I reading it? Please tell me in the comment section. Are you getting the same thing from this article as me? Basically, the rest of the article is just, you know, we had fun, I made friends, it was good times, we had streams, we streamed for charity, that happened, and a lot of good things came out of this. That's great, that's wonderful, that's fantastic. Like I said, if people played this game and they enjoyed it, they got their money's worth out of it, they made friends, that's awesome. I'm not here to shit all over that. That's not why I'm here, okay? That's not why I'm making this video. But it just really irks me that you're somehow trying to turn this around on the community and the negative hype train folks that drove it off the rail on Steam. Total, utter fucking bullshit. And you know, it looks like I spoke too soon about people not really having anything to say in my comment section, because in between commentary here, I made the mistake of checking my comment section on YouTube. There is somebody right now on my Landmark was canceled video defending Daybreak. A fellow content creator, I might add, who evidently his video was downvoted into oblivion. That's what it looks like he's telling me when he was positive, when he said positive things. And he's another one that's all about the negative hype train people. It's just absolutely fucking ridiculous. He's like, oh, I'm not surprised this video doesn't have 1 million downvotes like mine does. Listen, man, go back to where I was first criticizing EverQuest Next before really anybody else was doing it, and take a look at the downvotes, okay? I would link you to the subreddit where I got all that shit for I don't know how many months, and just shut my mouth about it before I finally blew up in a video telling everybody about it when I exposed what Landmark was all about and when they re-released it for $10. I finally took the top off of that rocket and let it loose. Trust me, that was building up for a long time. I got a lot of fucking shit, okay? So if you're getting shit right now for defending Landmark, you might want to take a look at that. You might just be mistaken. You might be wrong, all right? I was getting shit for tough questions about Landmark, tough questions about EverQuest Next, for asking, hey, what the hell is going on? How come they're not talking to us? Something's fishy here. I bet it's going to be canceled. I got a lot of shit for it. I've been on this ride for a while, man, and really the only thing I have to say to you is